We're diving into the shadowy world of modern espionage, where the lines between love, lies, and loyalty get dangerously blurry. We're going to explore how this age-old tactic of seduction is being totally weaponized for the digital age, and how, believe it or not, you might be the new target.
You know, it all starts so simply. Just picture it. You're at this major defense conference in Washington, D.C., surrounded by all the latest and greatest military tech. An attractive, well-dressed woman comes up and starts a conversation. It's professional, it's normal. But then, later that day, your phone starts buzzing with sexually suggestive texts from her. Yeah, this isn't some scene from a movie. This is a real story about how a simple encounter almost turned into a massive national security breach.
So the scene was the 2024 Association of the United States Army event. And this isn't just any conference. We're talking about the biggest showcase of U.S. Army land power in all of North America. That makes it a huge target for foreign intelligence agencies, all of them just dying for a peek under the hood of the latest American technology. And get this, the same woman who targeted that defense contractor, she also went up to an extremely senior U.S. Army officer. Officials are pretty sure it was a coordinated effort to seduce and pull out information.
Now, this tactic is as old as time, and it has a name that's, well, just as lurid as it sounds. It's a strategy known as
Sexpionage. The whole idea is brutally simple, almost transactional. The promise of sex in exchange for secrets. It's a tactic that's literally as old as spying itself, but it's one that America's adversaries are still using all the time.
But here's the thing. While Hollywood gives us this image of irresistible spies and romantic betrayal, the reality is often, well, it's a lot more boring and, frankly, a whole lot less glamorous.
The truth is, when people betray their country, it's hardly ever for love. The U.S. Department of Defense did this big study, looking at cases from 1985 all the way to 2017. And you know what they found? The #1 reason people leaked secrets wasn't some passionate affair or honeypot. Nope, it was cold, hard cash. Seduction and romance, they're usually just the tools they use for coercion and blackmail, not the end goal itself.
And that, right there, gets to the heart of the matter. A former FBI counterintelligence agent, Robin Dreeke, he put it perfectly. Authoritarian governments, especially our main adversaries like China and Russia, they are willing to do anything to get an edge. They don't have the same legal or ethical lines in the sand that Western intelligence agencies do.
So to really get a handle on the threat today, you've got to look back at its history. This whole tactic has a long and often pretty shocking past that's evolved from these secret meetings way back when to the dating app scams we see today.
The names and the dates, they all change. But the basic strategy? It's exactly the same. You've got Mata Hari, the original femme fatale from World War I, then the totally bizarre M. Butterfly affair, where a French diplomat was fooled for 20 years. Classic Cold War traps like the one that got Marine Sergeant Clayton Lonetree. And now, fast forward to the case of David Slater, which brings the honeypot right into our digital world.
So, David Slater was a 64-year-old retired Army lieutenant colonel, and he was working a civilian job at U.S. Strategic Command. He thought he was building a real relationship with a woman he met on a foreign dating site. But nope. He was actually being manipulated into sharing classified details about the war in Ukraine with a foreign agent.
And his online contact, she moved past the small talk pretty quick. She wasn't just flirting, she was digging, asking him directly about the special room at Offutt Air Force Base where he handled all this classified info.
Okay, now what's so fascinating about this is the language. Just 10 days later, she sends him this. It is a classic manipulation tactic, right? Mixing this affectionate language with love, with spy jargon, my secret agent. It's all designed to make the target feel special, important, and like they're in on it together.
In this case, it really shows a huge shift. Today, the spies aren't just at conferences or hanging around in embassies. The new frontier for espionage is happening right out in the open, on the same digital platforms that we all use every single day. And the scale of these operations, it's just staggering. According to the FBI, China sends something like 30,000 messages per hour on LinkedIn alone. They're just throwing out these massive digital nets, trying to catch literally anyone they can who has access to valuable information. And this is not random. It's a whole system. It starts with thousands of messages from fake profiles. The hook is usually something harmless, like a request for advice. Then comes the lure, offers of big payments or fancy trips. And finally, once they've got you on the hook, then comes the ask for sensitive info.
It's a playbook that's designed to exploit the very openness of our professional and academic lives in the West.
When you look at the resources our adversaries are pouring into this, you start to realize just how outmatched Western agencies can be. The sheer number of people they have is just overwhelming.
I mean, the numbers really tell the story. China's Ministry of State Security is estimated to have around 300,000 people. That makes it the largest intelligence service in the world. Now, compare that to Russia's 200,000, and then the entire U.S. intelligence community combined, which is roughly 85,000. The difference in sheer manpower is just massive.
So, the really crucial point here is that this isn't just a problem for high-level government officials or spies anymore. The threat has grown a lot.
Yeah, with this new digital playbook, the pool of potential targets has just become enormous. Intelligence services aren't just hunting for spies anymore. They're looking for anyone who has an in.
They're going after CEOs, tech workers in Silicon Valley, university students, academics, engineers, investors, journalists. Basically, if you have specialized knowledge, you work in a key industry, or you just have access to sensitive data, you could be a person of interest.
It's also really important to remember that this isn't a one-way street. Male spies, sometimes they're called Romeos, are used just as often. Back in 2021, a female U.S. military linguist was sentenced to 23 years in prison. Why? For passing secrets to a senior commander in Lebanese Hezbollah that she developed a romantic interest in. The tactic works on anyone who's vulnerable to it. So, after all these stories of digital dragnets and historic honeypots, what's the bottom line? Well, security experts have kind of boiled the whole threat down to a single, memorable, and maybe slightly brutal piece of advice.
It might sound a little cynical, I know, but in a world where anyone with valuable information is a potential target, that advice could actually be your best defense. And really, it leaves us with a tough question. In an age where we're all constantly connected, how do we stay safe without just closing ourselves off from the world entirely?